Hello, everyone. Welcome to Girl Meets Rugby. My name is Christina Lanham, and this is episode 015. We've done it. We've made it to the end of the regular season and the playoffs for Major League Rugby and Women's Elite Rugby. And so, in our show today, we're going to be talking about the Legacy Cup and the Shield Championship and the outcomes of those, as well as some things with the U.S. Eagles, some comings and goings of coaches and players. Plenty to talk about. Let's go ahead and jump into the news. All right. So yesterday, the U.S. Eagles men's 15 team faced off against Belgium in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, Belgium is currently ranked in World Rugby at number 22. The U.S. is currently ranked at number 15. And much as those rankings would go out, this was really a U.S. dominated match for the most part. Early on, there was a penalty kick for Belgium, and so they were on the score. It was 3-0. But then we quickly came around and we scored two tries, ending the half at 14-3. And when we came back out in the second half, Belgium came around. They got a try, came up to 10-14. And so it was looking pretty competitive. And then we just had a slew, like a hat trick of tries, just maybe 5 minutes or so between. I remember texting my friend, like, oh, it's 10-14 now. Oh, it's 10-19 now. Oh, it's 10-26 now. So great job to the U.S. men for a really strong performance. We finished out the match at 36-17. I will say, I think it was around the 71-minute mark. I don't know if it was we were just tired or we assumed Belgium wasn't going to be able to catch up to us, but they got the ball at around maybe their 10-15 meter line and ran it the entire length and scored without really basically anyone putting a hand on anybody. So that's definitely something to watch. That can be concerning. I think of past U.S. test matches where, we've been really far ahead and then let our foot off the gas and ended up losing the game in last minute tries. So that was probably my biggest concern out of that match. That and around the 22-minute mark, Sam Gala came out with looks to be like a hand injury. I did see him in a sling later, so that is not a positive sign for him for the upcoming matches. So hopefully it's going to be a quick recovery, but I'm not confident the way he was holding his hand. And given the way the guys play, they're not just going to come out for a hangnail. So hoping the best for him in recovery. But again, a really strong performance in their first test match as a team. So really glad to see that. They're going to be playing Spain on the 12th. This will also be held in North Carolina. Now, this should be a really competitive match. Spain is currently ranked number 16 in the world, so we are right neck and neck with them. That should be a really big challenge. And then on July 19th, this will be in Washington, D.C. It's the doubleheader match. So it's going to be men versus number 6 in the world, England. And then it'll be the U.S. women, who are currently ranked 9th in the world, against Fiji, ranked 15. So this should be an interesting day. I think we're going to learn a lot from that England match, just in terms of pace of play and things of that nature. But I'm expecting Spain to be a really big challenge. We did have 4 Eagles make their very first cap for the U.S. This included Tonga Kofe, Myrno Redlinghuis, Makeen Ali Khan, Chris Hilsenbeck. Sorry, there's 5 people, and Tavite Naquali. So it helps if I can count. So 5 individuals making their first cap as a U.S. Eagle. And not only that, they get to have a victory. So really great to see that. Crowd looked mediocre for the Belgium match, hoping it will be more positive for the Spain match. I would definitely be there if I had any traveling funds, but I don't. If anyone's looking for a house in Texas, I got one for sale. In other news, we're just going to kind of roll all the news up into here. Greg Cooper, head coach for the last 3 seasons with the Utah Warriors, has officially called it a day and is departing the team. Utah has promoted the assistant coach, Robbie Abel, as the new head coach for the Warriors. Now, the great thing I think with that is obviously Robbie has been there with Greg, working with this team this whole past season, which was a phenomenal season for Utah. And I think that's going to provide them some really good continuity in terms of leadership, a familiar face who's been there with them through this past season to take them into 2026. So we'll have to see how things go. I imagine there's going to be some other announcements of other coaches, as well as, we get into this time of season, we're going to get more retirements, more transfers. It's going to be a whole thing for the next little while. But yeah, so thank you to Greg Cooper for all that you've done for the Utah Warriors. I know that they really enjoyed having this past season with so much success. Wishing him the best in his future endeavors, and Robbie Abel to the position of head coach, and hoping that he will have as successful a season as they did this year. In the NOLA Gold, I am so sorry, I'm going to mess up your name so bad. Tupao Afungia. Wow, I'm so sorry. And Nikolai Foliaki have been called up to represent Tonga in the Pacific Nations Cup. Just a reminder, we will have matches in the U.S. for the Pacific Nations Cup. So that will be coming up later this year. So really excited for them to be able to represent their country during that period. In the Houston Sabercats, Wilton Rebolo was called up for the Brazilian national squad. So congratulations to Wilton for that. And with all of that, that is the news I have at the moment. And there's Luke in the background making his appearance. But yeah, really excited for that. Really excited for the continuing test matches this summer and just seeing where we go. And also looking forward to the Women's World Cup, which again will be starting up in August and will be held in England. But with that, and talking about women, let's go ahead and look at Women's Elite Rugby and the Legacy Cup. Okay, so we had the first season for Women's Elite Rugby, not without its hiccups, not without its problems. Maybe missing a little bit of parity in the league overall with the 6 teams, and there would be Luke. Yeah, I would say overall, the parity in the league was struggling a bit. It was kind of a case of one really, really strong team, Denver, 3 pretty close teams in New York, Boston, and the Bay Breakers, and then 2 lower teams with the Twin City Gemini and Chicago Tempest. Obviously, Chicago Tempest kind of pulling an Anthem RC and had no wins for the inaugural season. Now, that doesn't mean that next season is going to be the same, but I would love to see growing parity in that league. But we did have for the final match, it was Denver versus New York. New York being the only team to actually beat Denver in this past season. And when the match started, there was a fairly early on try for New York, as well as a number of penalties against Denver, where I thought this might be a well-contended match. It did not stay that way. By the half, Denver was ahead 24-13. The 13 points that New York scored would be the only ones they scored for the entire match, and it ended up being full-time 53-13. So Denver definitely ran away with it in their typical Denver fashion. Congratulations to them on being the inaugural Cup winners. But I would say that I would like to see them be I would like to see them have a little bit more competition for next year. Uh, Again, it's hard when one team dominates so much. It's you kind of don't have a lot to anticipate for, and so yeah, it's they definitely earned it. By far outscoring other teams significantly. I think I covered that over a couple of weeks ago of just how much, they on average score compared to the rest of the league. But again, would love to see a little bit more parity in that league for the second season. Obviously, still also looking for when they're going to be able to announce a new media partner. They made it work for the last few games, but even with the league championship, really only being able to stream on your website certainly is not going to help you gain additional viewers. But that is how Women's Elite Rugby wrapped up for their inaugural season. But whenever our inaugural seasons, just, home runs and never ending tries, right? So congrats to the women in those teams. And now let's go ahead and we'll jump over into our MLR championship. And we made it to the end of the MLR season with some really well played, well contested playoff matches. We had New England Free Jacks versus the Houston Sabercats. And this time my prediction was true, even though I was hoping it would be wrong. But I was really concerned that New England was going to blow Houston out of the water. Typically, when they've played in the past, it's been, quite the significant point spread between the two teams. And despite some ball handling errors on the Houston side, they were extremely competitive for the entire match. I mean, we went into halftime it was Houston 10, New England 13, and I was like, we might have a shot at this. And ultimately, New England got their three-peat that they so desperately wanted, and they did deserve with the game that they played. The final game score was 22 Houston, 28 New England. Now, there was a point where during some scrums and such and some scrum penalties that there were some commentators that stated that Houston probably deserved a penalty try. I will say that Houston fans in the comments, or at least New England haters in the comments, went wildfire with that, saying the game was robbed and they should have won. But one thing we have to keep in mind is it wasn't the last play of the game. So maybe Houston gets that penalty try. Everything that happened after that would have to be erased. And we don't know what that end result would be. And so it's not if they'd gotten that penalty try, they would have won. Like, I'd love to think that too. But the end result is, had they gotten that penalty try, the rest of the game would have looked different because they wouldn't have had their line out. They wouldn't have had various kicks for plays and things of that nature. None of that would have happened. So we can't just say if they got the penalty try, they would have definitely won the game, because we don't know that. We don't know, in that alternate universe, what that score was going to be. So, and I know a lot of people just love to hate on referees. I mean, it's funny because like, oh, it's the U.S. refs. They're the worst in the world. But then I look at like the Six Nations or the World Cup and like, this is the worst ref in the world. So apparently all the refs suck. That's what it must come down to, is that they just all are terrible. Or your team didn't get the call they wanted and you're mad. Now, is there a time where I disagree with a ref's call? Absolutely. But you know what? They're on the field in the moment, making the calls as they can see it from their perspective. They don't have the instant replay. They can't go and watch it 5 times. They don't have your camera angle. They are on the field in the middle of it, and they're making the best calls that they can. Just like in any other refereeing, it is subjective. So I was excited to have Luke Rogan be the ref for that match. He is probably one of my favorite refs in the league. I think he's really good at communicating with the players. He's very clear about what he wants. And yeah, it would have been great to have that penalty try, but am I going to crucify him over it? No. Did I think he did a bad job? No. Did I disagree with the call? Maybe. But at the end of the day, it's a hard job. And most of us couldn't be out there running around just to be up with the plays to make the calls. So I know, if anything, I'd be dead 2 minutes in. There's no way I could do that. But congratulations to the New England Free Jacks on their three-peat. Congratulations to Houston to making it to the championship game for the first time in your franchise history. A lot of firsts happened there. We had our youngest player in the MLR to play in a championship match, which was Seth Smith on the Houston SaberCats. We had Houston's most capped player with Emmanuel Albert playing in that. We had some amazing plays by Brock Webster, who is a rookie for the New England Free Jacks. He was dynamite out there, made amazing plays. And so there was a lot of great things to see about that. I think my biggest challenge was, again, no travel budget. Would have been out there. I looked to see if I could try and swing it, and they're just, short of like putting myself in some debt and making it questionable whether I could pay for my rent. There was no way I was going to get out there. But I really wanted to be. And it was great to see some of the fans from Houston make it. Obviously, with it being in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, it was significantly closer for the New England Free Jack fans, which was great. It's people, again, had a lot of heartache about that, but the last championship was in San Diego? So, I'll bet a bunch of their fans couldn't make it out to California. So it was great to see the venue move and be over in the East Coast. And we'll have to see where it is for the next season. Guessing somewhere in the Midwest. I'm in Sioux Falls. If you want to find a venue out here, that would be great. But yeah, I think overall it was a really good match. It was tight up to the very end. 22-28. That's one try and a conversion away from, taking the win. So it was a really good game. I had friends. We watched it together on ESPN. Probably my only complaint, and this may have been at my friend's house, so tell me if anyone else had this on ESPN, but at some point, our audio got about 15 seconds ahead of the video. So we knew things were happening, but it wasn't on the screen yet. So it was a little bit unnerving at points because you hear cheering and you're like, was that good? Was it bad? I don't know what's happening. And then 15 seconds later, like, oh, that's what happened. So that's probably my biggest complaint. And I can't say that was definitely ESPN. It could very well have been the audio setup because we were playing from a phone, streaming to a TV. So, that is one of those things where who knows what might have happened between all of that. But if you notice that, please let me know. I would be curious. But with that, it brings us to the end of this week's episode. I'll probably be taking a 2-week break, just trying to fit in a little bit more time between these as we move into we've got some test matches and such. There's not quite as much to cover week over week. So I will be spreading these podcasts out just a bit during the summer. And then I fully expect it to ramp back up as we get into World Cup, as we get into Pacific Nations Cup, and then prepping for the MLR season. But with that, I thank you for your time. This has been Girl Meets Rugby, episode 015, and I hope you have a great day.